No, they're not. That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that, because it's important for clients to understand that they, the owner of the property, is responsible for that sewer pipe all the way from their house, underneath the ground, past the sidewalk, beyond the curb, all the way down to the middle of the street, if that's where it connects, right down to the actual sewer connection underneath that street. That entire pipe belongs to the property owner. The sidewalk, the easement, and the street is considered an easement. It's considered a right of way, if you will. The city owns those things, but they are giving you the permission to run your private utility under their property.
Okay.
So it's still your utility, but it's under their property. Now, of course, replacing those things can become quite costly, because even as of recently, as of last year, the city of Los Angeles has implemented a program that then puts the costs of the property owners on frontage. Like if you have to replace your sewer line, and let's say 10 feet to the left and 10 feet to the right, the sidewalks are in bad shape. They'll say, well, you can replace your sewer line, but you have to fix the sidewalks. Let's say it's their tree, those big ficuses in West Hollywood, gorgeous trees, majestic trees, but they're destroying sewer lines, gas lines, water lines, underground utilities. They're destroying them. You can't do anything with that tree. You can't touch it. It belongs to the city. But its roots have broken your sewer pipe. That's your problem. That's just the position the city takes. It's your utility, and it's under their property. So if there's damage to the property from those things, they consider it frontage. If they just repave the street, they may make you pave a certain amount, upgrade the pavement when you cut into their street to fix your sewer line, to replace your sewer line. They may go, okay, fine, you have to go 20 feet that way and 20 feet this way. And they put all those costs on the property owner. Another thing about sewer lines that many people don't know is a few years back, the engineering department of the city of Los Angeles implemented a rule that if your home was built prior to 1965, I think it's 65, it might be 64. 65. Prior to 1965, if a building permit is issued for that house, in other words, a building permit is typically the permit that you would pull if you are doing any sort of construction on the house, not remodeling your kitchen. We're talking about actually adding square footage, adding structure, putting a second story on, building a guest house, pushing out the back house and creating a huge master suite. Okay, so you're adding structure. If the building permit is pulled, that's going to trigger an automatic inspection by the city. You are required to hire a camera operator to send a camera down the sewer pipe while the city inspector stands behind the operator and looks at the monitor. And if they discover that the pipe going out to city sewer is made of concrete, no matter what condition that pipe is in, the property owner is required to upgrade that pipe, because concrete's not allowed to be there. So they have to upgrade it either with a lining system if it's in a condition where it can be upgraded, or they have to replace it. So at the cost of average $20,000, this is quite an expense to be thrown at you when you're just trying to get your permit signed off on the little master suite that you just created. And you're over budget anyway because you bought the best tiles and the nicer faucets and things like that. And now the city comes in and says, well, we won't give you the certificate of occupancy and finalize your permits until you fix that pipe. So another good reason to have your sewer inspected, because again, the general physical inspector wouldn't be able to tell you if that was concrete or not, because he can't see it. The most common issue is root intrusion. The most common issue is from the trees that are surrounding and the bushes that are surrounding. A sewer line is a great source of moisture and nutrients for a tree or a bush. So they send their roots there and they crawl and they get into the joints and they just feed. And after a while, they can cause clogs and blocks. And if it gets left unchecked for a long time, it can actually break the pipe. But the most common issue is root intrusion, and typically it is a matter of just maintaining the roots with regular sewer line cleanings. The idea behind a sewer line, it's much like a tire. You wouldn't replace your tires when your tires still had a good amount of tread on them. When you buy a tire, you're buying time. Your sewer line is the same thing. You want to monitor its condition and keep it in a maintainable condition and a serviceable condition so that you can maximize its service life. It's the same thing with your tires. You want to check the tire pressures every once in a while. You want to get them rotated, so forth and so on, so you maximize their service life. It's terrible to buy, $1,500, $2,000 worth of Michelin tires only to have them, fail on you in 30,000 miles when they should have lasted 75 or 80,000 miles. Same thing with the sewer line. You want that one?
Yeah.
I was training an inspector in a very, very old area of Los Angeles, and I had the camera inside the line, and we were pushing it out, and about, 75 feet or so, into the line.
75 feet.
It was about 75 feet from where we accessed it under the property. Now, I didn't know where 75 feet was at the time. Okay, so I'm just like, yeah, it's about 75 feet. It's what showed on my screen as far as how many feet I've pushed through the line. But at 75 feet, I'm looking into basically blackness. I'm like, what is going on here? So I pushed the camera slightly forward, and I see my camera just start falling. So I pulled it back, and I tied a piece of monofilament fishing line onto it, and I pushed it again, and I kept pushing the camera while I was pulling the line to keep my camera head up, and I could kind of guide it, and I'm looking around this massive hole. It's full of water, but the dirt has just collapsed. Now as I push, I can just see the other leading edge of the pipe, of the sewer pipe. So there was a section of about 3 feet, 2.5 feet that was gone. It was broken. I ended up being able to sort of trapeze, if you will, the camera across this.
Oh, wow.
This, what is it called, a chasm?
Yes.
And ended up getting back into the pipe, and I ran it down to city sewer connection. Everything was fine with this pipe except for it was missing a 3-foot section, right?
Yeah.
So of course that's a problem, and now it has created this void in the earth. Now when I took my locator and discovered where it was just beyond the curb face. So this huge void was in the parking area of the street. So you have the curb, and then cars parked next to the curb. It literally was right there. Okay. We finished up the inspection and go inside the kitchen to give my briefing. And I said, unfortunately, we have a broken sewer pipe, and that has created a void in the earth under the street because it's been going for so long that it literally is removing the dirt and sending it down into the city sewer, and it can eventually it can collapse. That's a real thing. The listing agent, of course, was up in arms. I'm being alarming. I don't know what I'm talking about. Actually made the statement of, when you flush the toilet, does the water go away? And I said, yes. And he goes, well, then it's working. And I was thinking to myself, my God, are you really, that's the argument you're going to take? A sewer pipe was never intended to be broken in half.
Right.
A sewer pipe is to convey the sewer to a proper disposal site. A proper disposal site is not a sinkhole underneath your street or a void under the street.
Yes.
So when you have a broken sewer pipe, the system is not functioning as intended. Not only do you have a safety hazard, you also have a health hazard.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yes. You have the potential for sewer to get mixed in with our water table and so forth and so on. So it's just not good all the way around. Well, the listing agent was just really upset. I'm alarming and I don't know what I'm talking about and blah, 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 blah. So much so that I literally had to just sort of calm everything down, and I told my buyer and my buyer's agent, I'll contact you later and we'll further go over this, and I'll tell you what to do and so forth and so on, just so that I can get everybody away from the aggression that this listing agent seemed to be, having, and his great upset. And then I did. So, apparently whatever, I don't know what happened with the transaction after that, but I did end up speaking with my client and agent later. Well, about 2 weeks or so later, I was back in the neighborhood doing another inspection.
Another sewer line inspection.
Another sewer line inspection, yeah. This must have been back in like 2005 maybe, 2006. And I was driving by this area. True story. Black Mercedes sitting inside a sinkhole right in front of the house, right where I had painted the green paint and marked the break so that the sewer contractors could come in and excavate and dig. Listing agent standing on the sidewalk screaming into his cell phone. Talking.
Same listing
Agent.
who said that you were alarming and didn't know what you were talking about.
That's correct.
And his Mercedes.
I would imagine it was just by how upset he seemed. I would imagine, and I would hope, that the next time that there's a broken sewer line under the street, that he said, that's a real issue. We should get that further checked out and get that corrected.